Dailies are concerned, and Daily Nation, this is the big story. I don't see how any other story could be bigger than this at the moment. Cult of death massacre as 39 bodies exhumed from mass graves. Kenyans express outrage at how the government has handled the matter. The pastor in question is in a photo inset, and when I look at the caption, it reads that detectives removed some of the 18 bodies that were exhumed yesterday from a mass grave in Shakahola village in Kilifi County. 39 bodies have now been retrieved since the exercise started on Friday. The shocking deaths by starvation of members of a suspected cult continued to be unearthed yesterday, with 18 more bodies exhumed at Shakahola village in Kilifi County, even as the authorities finally acknowledged the scale of the atrocity as a massacre. And police now also suspect that some of the victims didn't fast to death but were killed before being buried. And as the search enters the fourth day today, the death toll can only go up. 15 is the number of grave sites police have identified on the 800-acre piece of land associated with Pastor Paul Mackenzie of the Good News International Church. And speaking strictly from a medical perspective, Dr. Dennis, how long would it take somebody to starve to death?
Thank you very much. It's been a really sad week just listening to what's been going on in Malindi. And beyond the medical aspect, just the pain of having to starve to death is something that I don't think that would wish on your worst enemy. But more tragic is that even children would not subscribe to that religion, don't make that choice, to pay that price. And the challenge is that where is the gap? Is it the security gap that don't pick up that? Or is it that there's something that is not right within how we run our affairs in the country? But to your question then is that by 7 days, if you've not had any food or water, you're already in trouble. Yeah, your body goes into dehydration mode. Yeah, and then when you don't have the fluid, then you start having what's called metabolic syndrome, where everything goes haywire. Yeah, so the longest that has been recorded of somebody who stayed without any water or food was, I think it was around 15 days. Yeah, but by the end of the fourth, fifth day already you are getting out of consciousness, sleeping out, and you're not able to do basically what a healthy person, a living person should be able to. So whatever happened in Malindi, I hope and pray that it will never happen. But then the tragic part of it in the rescue mission is that I've been seeing policemen and people digging, but I'm able to see a temporary hospital set up. There are beyond 0 trucks in the counties. I'm able to see the county team, the county medical team, because when you rescue somebody from their state, you want to put IV lines immediately, start running fluids immediately. But to carry them almost 50 kilometers to the nearest facility just shows you how broken down the health system is there. And you saw the locals yesterday in last news complaining that they have not even seen a single county official in that area. You know, almost 50 plus people dead and others still being found in the forest, and there's no system put in place to ensure that they are rescued and given drugs and fluids on site. Because how do you expect somebody who's not been eating like for 10 days plus? You want them to open, I saw people say that they refuse to open their mouths to feed. At this point, they're not even mentally in a state to think. They can't refuse. You fix a line, run fluids, not telling somebody is almost dying to open their mouth to eat or to drink water. They can't. Yeah. Okay.
You actually preempted my next question to Peterson, which was what is the first course of action in such a situation? So 7 days dry fast, that is without food and water, you're in a critical condition.
Yes, it is good.
All right. So Peterson, we've been told by Dr. Dennis here that first line course of action is fluids and IV line.
Yeah, actually, because there's a person whose sugars are low. I think a basic search of hypoglycemia, you call it hypoglycemia, will show you that this person goes into confusion all the way to coma. They're also in dehydration, and probably they are heading into shock because they have lost enough water. So this is a person who is mentally clouded. If actually you are lucky enough to to find them in a position they can actually be able to move. This is not a person you want to try and convince to take something. So you have to resuscitate, and the resuscitation includes you must be able to raise their sugars, you must be able to rehydrate them, to give them enough water that they have been able to lose. And it's only after you have probably resuscitated, now these people can be having the mental capacity to be able to engage you, and probably now you can be able to say they're either complying or they're not complying. But at that state, and I agree with my brother Ms. Keller, that I would say that the government is also negligent. Because we expected to see, where is Red Cross? Where are all these organizations that deal with health rescue teams? These are the teams that we were expecting to see on the ground, together with, of course, the forensic experts, so that we also want to know, apart from the hunger and the starvation they are talking about, would there be something else? Because it is not normal for so many people to be probably brainwashed into starving to death. So we also want to know, is there something beyond the starvation? Is there probably something they are being given to confuse them?
And I'm curious, Collins, have you ever come across anything like that? And as you were speaking, I was looking up the Kenya Red Cross Twitter handle just to make sure they were not on site. But here I can see they are in Malindi. We have set up tracing and counseling desks at the Malindi Sub-County Hospital for the Shakahola response. So far, 112 people have been reported missing at the tracing desk. So they might not be at the ranch, not that I've seen, they might be, I don't know, this is what I can see, but they are within the vicinity. But Collins, have you ever witnessed something like this?
I want to start by saying that this is the effect of low investment in healthcare, because as you can see, there was an Abuja declaration that mandated countries to set aside 50% of their revenue to healthcare. But you can see that there is low investment in healthcare, there is no health facility within, and also the health workers are not even there, because the health workers are, the shortage of health workers across board. And also the government policies, like you see, registering even a health facility in such an area is, first there is poor security. Two, it is a monumental task to register a health facility and run one. But it is more easy to have a church operating in such an area. So I think the government has need to do more in terms of investment. I think they should invest more in, we should do more investment in health, unlike doing more investment and in religion. So I think it is something that we need to look at moving forward. But ideally, this is something that is beyond something that has gone so much.
Quite shocking,
yeah.
Quite shocking. Dr. Bethwell, your sentiments on the issue. You're young pharmaceutical group, so I assume this is but even within various religions, we've just come out of Ramadan. We have people, so they were fasting, right? A day-long fast, and then they break it. Christians fast usually at the beginning of the year, 21-day fasts and all that. So fasting is really not strange or new to Kenya. You know, what are some of the things that people should keep in mind when fasting?
All right. Thank you so much. First of all, one of the things that people should keep in mind while fasting, and I think that is something that Dr. Miskela has mentioned, there's a certain extent that you're not meant to go beyond. And that is with regards to the number of days that one is fasting. And looking at what happened in Shakahola, or what is still happening there, I think they disregarded medical guidance. And perhaps I may not necessarily press the burden of responsibility on the victims, because maybe they didn't have the information that they need, and that points us to, I mean, do we have people who are passing across this message? Do we have health professionals who are educating the masses? Because that's where we begin primary health care. It's preventive medicine, medical education. So some of the things that people need to consider while fasting. Number one is, do they have any medical condition? That is one thing that they need to consider. If they have medical condition, of course, they need to inform their doctors or their healthcare service providers, I'm about to engage in a fasting. So how should I engage in this fasting? Another thing that they need to consider is, of course, now that ties to their medical condition. Are they on any medication? Because when you're engaging in any type of fasting and you're on any medication, there are certain things that you need to observe, because there's some medication that you need to take with food. So if you're engaging in fasting and you're not taking food, then it may compromise the effect of those medicines in your body. So those are some of the things that people need to consider. And of course, it points out to lack of information that is out there. But again, who is meant to provide this information? They're healthcare providers, healthcare service providers, healthcare workers who are not deployed to these remote areas because, of course, of the dysfunctional health system that we have in this country.
All right. And I'm working on just pulling up some of the union statements in preparation for a discussion. But I'll put a pin in that. Let's take a look at what else is on the front page of the dailies. Let's head now. Wait, let's finish up with Daily Nation, because we just looked at one, actually. At least there's one inspiring story that I've seen on the front page. Usually they're few and far between. And that is Kenya's Kelvin Kiptum crosses the finish line, and this is him, to win the men's race of the 2023 London Marathon in central London yesterday. Kiptum ran the second fastest official time over the distance in history. The 23-year-old broke the course record with an astonishing time of 2 hours, 1 minute and 27 seconds. Kenya's Perez Jepchirchir finished third in the women's race. I think I would need a whole day just to cover half that distance. Also on the front page, speaking of salaries, we'll down tools. If April pay is delayed, state told. Union of Kenya Civil Servants and Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers warned of a nationwide strike if the government, which has acknowledged cash flow problems but has vowed not to borrow to pay salaries, fails to process the payments on time. More details on that on the back page of the Daily Nation. And I can see here the Kenya Union of Civil Servants Secretary General Tom Odege addresses mourners during the funeral of former university's Academic Staff Union Chairman Muga Kolale at Agoro Sare Primary. And we see a quote: "We have not seen a decrease in revenue collection since the previous administration left office. Therefore, there is no reason at all for salary delays." Gentlemen, I'm curious what you make of the government repeatedly, drilling it into our minds that the coffers were empty, there is no money. So what would you rather we do, delay salaries or default on our debt? Dr. Dennis Riskela Bega.
Thank you very much. I think it's very unfortunate that the government can wake up one day and tell us that they're no longer able to pay salaries, because KRA has clearly said that they are collecting the money quite well. But then where is the money going? Because the first responsibility that a government should do is just pay their civil servants, because everything that we're able to generate as a country is because workers have gone out there. Yeah, and when workers go to work, they know that at the end of the month, all they want is their salary. Yeah, where you're going to get that money is not the business, and that's why you're elected there to think it out. Yeah, but to just wake up, say that we don't have money, we won't pay, and worst of it, when they go ahead and say that we won't even borrow, we won't even go out of our way to find ways of paying you, then what do you want me to do as a worker? I woke up every day, did my bit. At home, when I leave my children, they expect that daddy has gone to work, there'll be bread in the evening for supper. Yeah, my landlord will not understand that we're having cash for problems. They want us to pay the rent. My bank will not understand that I've not been paid. They want their loan paid. Neither will I use even my ID as a doctor to get into a petrol station and fuel my car. So what do you want us to do as the workers when we don't pay our salaries? That's the question that the government must tell us clearly, that what do they want the workers to do? Because at the end of the day, Kenya, as of now, from what I've been reading around, because I've tried to read around what's happening, is that it's not about what we are getting. It's about how we are spending it. Because you can't be a father that your child comes to that, daddy, I'm starving, or I need a new pair of shoes, and you tell them that, hey, I don't have money at all. But the next day they see you have bought new tires for your car. The next day you have taken a trip with your friends for a road trip with your boys. But when you have asked for money for sugar, you are having cash for problems at work. That guy telling us that, hey, we have money to buy cars, we have money for trips all over the place. I'm told guys, some ministers even carry their chefs abroad. But when it comes to just the basic decency, you're just paying the worker. You say that you don't have money for that. That's not fair. And I urge all the civil servants in the country, because so far all the healthcare workers have issued strikes and walkouts and all that, that anybody who has not been paid their salary, you have no business being at your workplace unless the government can give us free housing, they can give us transportation to work, our kids can go to schools with free bursaries, so that the only thing we're now left with that we don't have money to save on the side, then you can be able to wait for another day. But until your landlord does not give anything about how they are ready to be paid, I urge all workers of this nation to stay out of work. Not because you are striking, not because you don't like our work or you don't like our patients, but because how can you take care of people when you can't take care of your own self? When the Bible says love your neighbor like you love yourself, basically you have to fix yourself first before you fix anything else around you. Yeah.
All right, so we continue with this conversation on the other side of this break. But speaking of housing, I see on the back page of the Daily Nation accompanying that story on salary delays, state to match government workers 3% contribution to housing fund in new plan, 30,000. The number of housing units that the Kenya Kwanza administration has built in Nairobi under the planning to build under the affordable housing project. Okay, so we continue with, we'll quickly finish up with the papers on the other side of the break and then come back with the meat and potatoes of today's conversation. Where does it hurt? This is Triage. I'm the Triage nurse.